Hey all, my name is László Leber. Welcome to my YouTube channel Coaching. Today I would like to show you that how you can Dockerize an Angular application along with Node.Js and Postgres, and also we will use NginX proxy. My previous video about how to Dockerize a React application was very successful here, so I wanted to create a very similar video to it, but now I will use Angular on the front-end side, and hopefully it will help you to understand how you can run the front-end, the back-end, database and NginX proxy together inside Docker containers. We will create a Docker compose file to make them able to communicate with each other on same network. And yeah, let's get started. Okay, for this tutorial you will need some Docker daemon installed on your computer, for example, which is coming with the Docker desktop. And you will need Node.Js and Node Package Manager, and also the Angular CLI. You can use my repository you can find under my video, and please switch to the starting branch, which doesn't contain the Docker files and the NginX configurations, because it is the theme of this tutorial to create them. By the way, you can find the final project on the main branch, so all the Docker files and NginX configuration, the Docker compose file. Okay, let's get started. Okay, this is the architecture. In the development environment we will have an NginX in front of Angular and Express. The Express will communicate with the Postgres, and Angular will use the Express application as an API. And in production we will have an NginX for routing on port 3050, and we will have a builded Angular files which is served by NginX, and also the Express server and Postgres. So we will use NginX for different purposes. In development environment we will use it in front of the front end and API, so just for routing. In prod environment we will use it as router, so we will define the paths, and we will use it also to serve the builded front end files. So we will build Angular and we will put an NginX there as an HTTP server to serve the builded files to the client. So this is the reason that we will create some NginX configurations. We will create one for routing, one for the HTTP server, and also in dev environment we will create another one. Okay, now I show you the application. So this one is the server application. We have an Express, the PG and course dependencies here, and also the body parser. This is a very little simple application. We import the Express, the body parser, and the course. Also we have a keys. We just export here the Postgres configuration properties, which are coming from environment variables, and we define our Express application. We turn on the course. We need to enable the cross-site requests, because we will run our backend and frontend on different ports. We set up our connection to Postgres. If the table is not exist, then we are creating it. Our table contains one column named number, and we define some endpoints, so the slash will send back hi, and we have the values all. It will query all the values from the table and sends back to the client in response. And also we have a post endpoint here, the slash values, and here we can get our request body value and insert it to the database table and send back working true if it was successful and working false if the value in the request body is not existing. The application we run on port 5000. Okay, now please run the npm start command here. By the way, you had to install dependencies before, so npm install was required as well, but it's obvious. And now you can see that it is listening. Okay, now check out the client. So here it is a very basic Angular application created by the Angular CLI. So nothing additional dependencies were added here. I have a start command where I use the disable host check. This is because we are going to run it on different ports than the one which is set here, because we will map out the port. We will map out the port in the NginX configuration, and we have the host set. This is because we need to map out the port from Docker container to outside, and also we set the 3000 port for the front-end application. About the application, here you can see that I have a very basic CSS and in the HTML we can add the new number with an input and a button, and also we mapping through the numbers and render them. Here in the app component we have the get numbers and add number functions. We are using the value service So here in the service I'm calling the /API, because in our NginX we will map /API to the backend application, and we have the get values where we get the values from the Node.Js application, and also we have the post, so the add value, we can add a new value and post it to the backend service. Okay, before we are starting to create our Docker files, we gonna try out the front end and backend in local environments. So please replace the /API to localhost 5000, and also here in the backend application, comment out every Postgres related code, because we don't have Postgres database running in local environment. So local environments means here that not inside containers. Here is a mock response 1, 2, 3 in an array, and that's all. Try to run our backend application now. Okay, it's listening, and now try to start our front-end application as well. You had to run npm install here as well to install the front-end dependencies. And now I go to the client folder and run npm run start here as well. And here you can see starting, and it is started. I can check out in the browser. I can get back the 1, 2, 3 numbers. Of course, I can't post a new number. I can post, but it will not store to the database, because we don't have database now. So if I call the post endpoint, we can see that we can get back the working true, but nothing happens. So no new number added to the list. Okay, now revert back the code to the original state. So back to /API in the service, and remove the comments from the Postgres related codes here. It's very important to reset back your code before create. Okay, first we are gonna dockerizing our client, so create a docker file .dev file here. So we are creating the Docker file for our dev environment. We derive our we base our Docker image on Node. So use for example the 80.7.0 Alpine. The work there will be /app, and copy the package JSON inside with this line and run npm install. Copy everything after that, and the command will be npm run start. Okay, this is a very simple Docker file, and we can try it out. So we can build our Docker image. So in the command line tool, you have to run docker build command. So inside the client folder, run docker build -f dockerfile.dev -t and give a name to it, and after that space and the point, and run this command. Here you can see my Docker was builded. Now I can run the docker run command, docker run -i and t-p. 3000 port will be mapped to also 3000, and it was my tag of my image, so you have to write your tag here, and after that we can run this command, and our Docker container will be created and will be up and running. So press enter here, and after that you can see here that my container is up and running. My front-end application started. Here we can check on port 3000, but now it's not working. It can't communicate with the backend because backend is not running yet. So we are going to create our backend dev files, but before it we create an NginX. It will be front of our front end and backend. Create an NginX folder and the default conf file in it, and write this in your default conf. So we are register our client as an app stream, and it will point to the client 3000, and we will have another one for the API. It's pointed to the API 5000, and also we set up the NginX configuration, so we are listening on port 80. We have the /path. The /path is pointed to the client, so write HTTP client here. And also we have another location /API, which is pointed to the Node.Js backend application. Here we are using some regular expressions because we want to catch everything after /API /anything, and here you need a slash. Okay, now we are gonna create our Docker file dev for NginX. It is very simple. We are derived from the NginX image and copy the default conf inside the right path inside the container. So etc nginx conf.d. Okay, and our nginx Docker file is ready. finally, now we are going to create our Docker file dev for our backend Node.Js application. So we are derived from Node 18.7.0 Alpine. The working dir is also /app. Copy the package JSON inside, and after that we have run command, run npm install, and copy everything after it. After that, the command will be npm run dev. The dev command runs nodemon, so you can see in the package.json here, and our development Docker files are ready. Now we are going to create our Docker compose. We are compose them together. So create a Docker compose in our root directory, and the first thing that we will set up here, we have version. This is version Docker compose, and after that we are set up our services. The first one is the Postgres. The image is the official Postgres latest, and we have some environment variable here. So Postgres password should be set. It will be Postgres password for simplicity now. Okay, the next the next service will be the NginX. Here we have some dependencies, so it depends on the API and the client. So it will run after API and client are up, and the restart policy is always. And here we set up that where is the Docker file, so it's in the NginX folder, so the context should be /nginx. The next service, and we map out the ports. So we will use the 3050. So we map out the port 80 to 3050. And now we are setting up our API service. It's in the server folder, so we set up the Docker file and its directory. The context is /server, sorry, not client server. And we have some volumes here. We have some environment variables here. You know, we had the Postgres user, password, host, port, and everything. So we have to set up them. Okay, pg user, pg host, pg database, and pg password, which is Postgres password, but I have to make the upper one to lowercase as well here in the Postgres service. I want it to be lowercase. Now pg port is 5432, and client service is the last one, so we set up it's in the client folder, but std_open is true. Environment okay, there use polling, it should be true because we want hot reload. So when we are gonna change our code in VS Code, the frontend will be rebuilt automatically inside the container, and we will be able to check out the new version in the browser in the same time. So okay, our Docker compose file is ready, so we can run the docker compose app build command now. So in your terminal, in the root directory, please run docker compose app, and with the build switch. And after that, all services are builded, and after that they were builded, they will be up and running. They should be. You can see on my screen that my services are up and running. They started successfully. Now my front end is ready as well. And now I can check out the application in the browser. So call localhost 3050. Here you can see that it's running. I can add numbers, and we can check the network. Here you can see that if I add the new value, then we call the /API path /values. So it is pointed to the backend service. We can get back the numbers, and so the NginX configuration is working as well, because we have the right paths working. Okay, now try out the hot reload. So change something in the HTML file, for example this label. I change it to number list and press save. After a while your code is built again, and you can check out in the browser that it is changed as expected. So hot reload is working as well. Okay, now we are going to create our production Docker files. So we will build the Angular application, and we will serve it with an NginX. So create an NginX folder inside the client folder too, and create a default .conf file and paste these lines there. So it will listen on 3000 port. We have a /path which is pointed to the client application, which is builded. So we serve the builded files from a folder. So from user share nginx HTML, and we would like to serve index.html and index.htm, for example, and every other static files. Okay, we don't need these tabs, so I'm closing them. And now I will create the Docker file of the client. It will be different from the dev one. So here we are derived from the node again, but we will build our front-end application, and after that we will serve it with NginX. So the first thing that I name this stage as builder, and here the working directory is /app. I copy the package.json inside. I run the npm install, and after that I would like to build it. So copy everything inside after npm install and run npm run build command, not builder, build. Yeah, and after that it's builded, we switch to the NginX, and we derive from the NginX image. We expose the 3000 port, copy the /nginx /default conf file inside. We copy it to the etc/nginx /conf.d/ and we give here the name of the file as well. So after that we copy the builded frontend files from the builder app-dist client path to the NginX user share /nginx/html folder. Okay, it's ready. Now create the Docker file of the server. It will be very similar to the development environment one, but here we are gonna run another command at the end. So we can copy the development one and just change the npm run dev to npm run start command. You can try out these Docker files too if you change the Docker file .dev files here to the Docker file for the API and the client, and you can run docker compose app build again. And finally, if your containers were started, you can see that it's working for me, then we can try out it in the browser again. So it should be working like before. We can add numbers and we can our NginX for client serves the static builded Angular.js files. Okay, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully it was a very helpful video for you to understand how to Dockerize these components together. If you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You will find many interesting tutorials on this channel in the future as well. And please press the like button as well. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye.